before. That was, of course, Captain Sully Sullenberger, the hero pilot of last month's Miracle Hudson River landing, speaking before lawmakers just a couple of days ago. Sully says the airline industry's pay cuts are driving away skilled pilots and that experienced crews in the cockpit will be a thing of the past. So how bad is it? Let's talk right now to retired commercial airline captain Mark Weiss and Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Sweeney. They both join us to talk about how bad it is out there. Captain Weiss, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, you know, I think a lot of people have the perception that commercial airline pilots are able to make a lot of money. Maybe that was true once upon a time, but how is it now?
Well, you're absolutely right. Perception is not today's reality. Perhaps the people in the airline industry were on the ground floor of the current economic recession.
Yeah,
At the airline I had flown for, we took a 23% pay cut back in 2003.
And I understand as well, Captain, that a lot of pilots, commercial pilots today, have second jobs just because they can't make enough money.
Well, that's true. A lot of them do have second jobs. In order to maintain a standard of living, they have to have that second income coming in.
Lieutenant Colonel Sweeney, one of the things Sully says, I do not know a single professional airline pilot who wants his or her children to follow in their footsteps. I understand your son is a commercial pilot. I'm sure you get an earful from him. What are his main concerns?
Well, ever since he was a little boy, he wanted to be a airline pilot, and that was his dream. And I think that when we talk about that there's not going to be the best and brightest in the cockpit, I would use Brett, my son, as an example. He graduated from college in 3.5 years. He was an Eagle Scout. It was always his dream to be an airline pilot.
Right.
He understands that they don't make as much as they used to, but he still wants to. And another example, I was flying the military version of a Boeing 707 one night in a Desert Storm combat mission, and the two engines on my left wing came totally off the airplane. Well, the other pilot that was with me that night, Jay Sealanders, who's probably one of the best pilots you would ever meet, we took it back and successfully landed it as a team. His son just started his aviation technology degree. His son's an honor student. He's an outstanding baseball player, and his dream is to become a commercial airline pilot. So we don't make they don't make as much as they used to, but they still make an adequate wage, and I'm real interested in making an adequate wage.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want Brett to come back and ask me for some more money like some of his, like some of my other kids have. So making enough money, adequate wage is very important to me.
No, I completely understand. Well, let's take a look at some of the FAA's work rules, and you know, it is putting a squeeze on a lot of pilots and airlines as well. Pilots can fly up to 8 hours a day. A workday, including flight prep time, can be 16 hours. Federal rules require 8 hours off each day, and pilots can fly up to 100 hours a month on domestic flights as well. Now, one of the things, Captain Weiss, one of the problems is a lot of these pilots live a long ways away from their job, and so they might have to travel the day before to get to their job because of these work rules and everything else.
Well, absolutely. I live in the Washington, D.C. area currently, and I've flown out of Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York, and oftentimes because of the way the trips are paired, or what time of day they would start or finish, I would have to leave for work a day before and perhaps not get home the day I finished.
Yeah. Captain, before you go, do you feel that the guys and gals in the cockpit are qualified?
Oh, there's no question about it, and I agree. I mean, the people who are flying airplanes today and those coming through the ranks are qualified and will be superbly qualified.
All right.
I just think that there's less incentive for people to get into this industry than there had been before.
Lieutenant Colonel, do you agree with him?
Oh, I think they're eminently qualified, and I think there's a lot of people wanting to get into the flying business. And when you talk in terms of safety, I talk to a lot of groups, associations, corporations, and when I talk to them, one of the things I talk about is what's ingrained in every pilot I've ever known. And I'm sure I've flown with hundreds of pilots, as I'm sure Captain Weiss has, and I know thousands of pilots, and there's one personal characteristic that's really ingrained in every pilot I've ever known, and that's every landing they make, every takeoff they make, they try to make that the best one they have ever made in their life. And that will continue. And that's something that we all need to do in our lives professionally, is do the best job we can every day. And
right, exactly.
Pilots
and you know
have
what?
That's just part of their psyche.
Sure, and from the people who sit in the back, that's exactly what we want to hear. Captain Mark Weiss and Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Sweeney, guys, we thank you both for joining us live today from D.C. and Dallas.
Thank you.
All right, straight ahead.